So it opened up with Roman coming out, got an incredible reaction. He spent about 10 minutes getting into the ring. He slapped hands with virtually everybody on the aisle, everybody around ringside. His mom was there. His wife was there. Atta was there. Rock's mom.
Rock's mom was there, yeah. Dwayne Johnson. Yep.
Everybody chanting for Roman, chanting welcome back. Gets to the ring, says he's going to probably say this a lot, but thank you. He missed the fans. A couple of fans started, "This is your yard" chant, and he says, "This is our yard." So he's a man in faith, always believed in God, felt he'd looked out for him, but he's not going to lie. Before the announcement in October, he was terrified. He was scared, insecure, not sure he wanted to share everything with the world. Fans booed that, actually, then broke into a Roman chant. And he said he was scared to tell everybody because he didn't know how people would react. But by the time he got home, the outreach was incredible. Thoughts, blessings, prayers. Everything was overwhelming. Not just WWE fans, everybody. People who liked him, didn't like him, everybody was coming to his aid. And he said so many people prayed that God's voicemail was full.
That's a cute line.
He said that kind of strength and love, he could do anything. A lot of the purpose of a young superstar is to win titles, try to get to the top. For him, his main purpose is to use WWE as a platform to raise awareness and support to those who are in need, just like him. He said, "It's time for the update. When I made my announcement, I said we were going to swing for the fences, and we did better than that. We hit a home run. I'm grateful, humbled, honored to announce I am in remission. The big dog is back." Everybody cheered. They chanted, "Welcome back." He said, "Before I left, I wanted to say it probably a bunch more times. One last time, thank you so much. I love you all." And as he left, out came Seth on the ramp. They hit his music. They hugged, and as noted, it's like an all-time great Raw moment. It's one of the great moments in wrestling.
Oh, yeah. It was fantastic. It was, I wish they left it alone from there. I mean, you know, it's fine they did the run-in, but just, I mean, it didn't really bother me that they harped on it over and over in the show because it was the most important thing on the show. But, you know, it's like, you know, one of the things, the announcing on the show tonight was the usual terrible, you know, I mean, and maybe that made it seem bad. They kept going back and forth because it's so scripted and not natural. And plus they were like equating it with the other angles on the show. It's like, oh, and tonight we had, you know, this angle and Roman Reigns came back. And it's kind of like I would, you know, separate the real from the fake, you know, because it's almost like you make the real part of the fake. And, you know, I don't know. I just remember when in Dallas, I mean, it was while they were doing all this during the show, it just reminded me, like, one of the tackiest things I ever saw in wrestling was in Dallas when they did an angle with Gino Hernandez threw whatever it was. I don't remember what the substance was, Freebird cream or something, in Chris Adams' eyes. And they were doing a blinding angle for Chris Adams to turn him babyface. He was blinded. He'd never wrestle again. Of course, he's going to come back, and he was a babyface because Gino and Chris were a heel tag team. And then, you know, immediately, like right after they shoot the angle, Gino overdoses and dies. And Bill Mercer opens the show. We've had two terrible tragedies in the last week. Chris Adams is blind and Gino Hernandez is dead. And it was just like, oh, God. You know what I mean? Like, just basically like the fake blindness and the real death mentioned right next to each other. And there were several times during the show where they kept doing that. And it was just like, mention one and mention the other, but you're just like, you're equating them together and you're doing it in this carny way. And you know, it's like, you know, it's like you feel so bad about, I feel so bad about saying anything negative about this segment because the segment itself was so great, but they, you know, it's like, then you watch the rest of the show and it's just like, I mean, it's going to be wrestling as usual, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a wrestling show, but it's WWE as usual. You know what I mean? Which isn't the same as wrestling as usual, but I guess it's just what we have to expect. You know, it's going to be tacky, and they can't help it. I mean, you know, that's all there is to it.
Gotta say one other thing that as he's leaving, if you recall when he first came out in October to make his announcement, like they only mentioned he was making an announcement, and like none of the announcers were filled in as to what he was going to say, and virtually nobody knew what he was going to say when he came out. And Michael Cole, as he's leaving here, says, at the time of his original announcement, I wasn't sure we'd ever see Roman Reigns again. And I thought, I sure hope they smartened everybody up, because if nobody in the company knew if he was ever coming back, and they were doing all of those angles based around his leukemia, I mean, we watched and we thought he must be, like, I don't want to say okay, but I mean, there must be, like, some hope that everything's going to be fine. Otherwise, why would you do all of this stuff?
No. They were just exploiting it to get Dean Ambrose over. But I mean, you know, again, because they were so silent about this entire situation, about what form of leukemia he has. I mean, you know, they just kept this thing completely silent because whatever reason they did. You know, I mean, I mean, I think everyone knows why, but you know, so there are different forms of leukemia, and I mean, and look, none of them are good. I don't want to come out here and say, but some aren't as bad as others, but they're all bad to a degree. What he went through, you know, I mean, look, there even in the best forms, which is probably what he had, and what I assumed he had from the very beginning. I mean, I expected he would be back, maybe not in 4 months, but I did expect that he would be back. The situation where he had it before came back. That it from talking to doctors, that form of leukemia that in theory one would expect that he had, we don't know it though, was one that, you know, he was probably going to make a full recovery, probably. You know, even in that one, there's a risk. It may only be 5% that he would die. I mean, you know, and look, you know, his age, and I got kids, and, you know, even if you don't have kids, but especially if you have kids, you know, even 5% is enough to, you know, that's scary. That's still a scary proposition. I mean, there's other forms where it's like, there are forms of leukemia which are virtually a death sentence. I don't think he had that. Because number one, I don't think he'd be back this soon if he did. But, you know, one of the things, you know, is they did keep all of this quiet. But, you know, it's great. It's wonderful. I mean, I did think, you know, I mean, look, when I wrote the article, it was like, look, he's coming back and, you know, he's going to be a super babyface this time. And the fans aren't going to boo him. I mean, we'll see what happens in the future. But I think it's going to be tough. You know, I mean, I think that just changed the entire narrative of his career in a good way. I think he's going to be, you know, maybe it'll go back to the way it was. But I don't think so. I mean, I know a lot of people do think so, and the fans are the fans. There's no chosen one right now that the fans have other than Becky Lynch, and he's not a threat to Becky Lynch's position. So, you know, you're not going to really have that aspect of it. It's tough to boo a cancer survivor, you know, afterwards. And the other one is he handled it. I mean, look, he handled this interview tremendously. I mean, because he was real out there, and everyone knew it. You could see that thing. And that's, you know, the only non-scripted part of the show is, as usual, the one great part of the show. And, you know, so, you know, I mean, I mean, there's a good aspect of it in the sense of, I think that him and his life, I got the impression that he's kind of turning a very bad, horrible negative into a positive, the way he handled it and everything. And I think that's, you know, he should be very well congratulated for it. But man, this company, I mean, I just wish they wouldn't be so freaking heavy-handed, because it makes it so difficult. You know, it's hard. I know some people look away at everything that they do, but it wasn't even like one thing. It was like that you know, that t-shirt thing right away. It's just like, come on, you got to be kidding me. I wasn't surprised, but it's like, come on. Like seconds later, I mean, you can't wait 2 weeks. You know what I mean? You know that like the emotions are high.
It was 8:28 p.m. Literally the moment this ended.
Yeah. They sent it to everyone. You know, everyone on their freaking mailing list or whatever it was. I know I got one. I mean, like right away I'm going like, I can't believe this is happening. And then The Corbin thing was tackier because to me, it's like, this is just a nothing interview segment with a nobody. I know they're trying to push him, but it's just like, it's not even like, at least with, and this is not a defense of the Dean Ambrose thing because again, that was actually worse. But with Dean Ambrose, at least it was like this attempt to make this super heel. With Corbin, it's not even an attempt to do anything other than just, the cheapest form of heat. That's all.